Hello, weird and wonderful people. My name is Malachi and welcome to what has been a roller coaster of a day. About 1 a.m. this morning, I was laying in bed. I couldn't get to sleep. Decided to scroll my phone, see if anyone has uploaded to YouTube that I can chill out, watch, and maybe get some sleep. And I found the latest video from Sorted looking at pretentious ingredients. So I thought, it's a bit of fun. If you haven't seen Sorted, go and check them out. I'll leave the tag for the video just there. See why in a second. I'm sitting there watching the video, and then all of a sudden, one of the pretentious foods that they're reviewing was this.
La Molina's La Minestrati Gianduja, a milk white and dark chocolate layered gianduja cake. It looks sticky and fudgy and delicious.
I mean, that looks incredible.
It's crazy.
Once I saw that, my 1 o'clock in the morning brain went, I want that, which is pretty much like my normal brain when it comes to seeing food, especially sweets. But I really, really wanted to make it. So I'm like, that's fine. I'll do something, right? No, my brain, my 1 o'clock in the morning Malachi wasn't fit to just do something. I decided, in my sleep delirium state, that I wanted to not recreate what they had on the show, but to make something inspired by what they had on the show. So I laid there for about 3 hours last night, plotting out exactly what I wanted the dessert to be, what ingredients I was going to use, what methods I was going to use, what the overall consistency I wanted was, how I was going to make it, how I was going to cook it, how I was going to do the video, everything. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, you can thank 3 a.m. exhausted Malachi for coming up with the idea, because I don't know if this is going to work. The first main difference you're going to notice is the size. I decided rather than try and do one big one like is in the video, I'm going to try and do 4 little ones. I've opted to use little springform pans, which could be an issue because of the ridge on the around the inside, but I'm going to try this. I think this is going to be my best bet of getting it out cleanly. The main ridge bit is going to be the bottom, so it might look okay. Just to really help, I know this is non-stick, but just to really help it, just because I really don't want it to stick, I'm going to brush a little bit of oil, just a little bit of vegetable oil around the side. I know vegetable oil in a dessert sounds weird, but we're actually going to be mixing vegetable oil with the chocolate a little bit later anyway. So I figured if it's good enough for the chocolate then, it's good enough for the chocolate now. We're then going to also dust the springform containers with a little bit of caster sugar or confectioner's sugar, just to try and make sure it's nice and sweet. Am I a little bit worried that the confectioner's sugar could ruin the overall appeal and the look of the chocolate? Yes, I am. But am I more concerned about it getting stuck than anything else? Also, yes, I am. And, worked for souffles. Pour the caster sugar in, shake it round, roll 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 it round, dump the excess. Do the same thing to all 4 of them. Now, as I said in the intro, I actually have no idea if this is going to work. This is what 1 o'clock in the morning Malachi thought was a good idea. So I've decided not to try and rethink my plan with the knowledge of the day, and have decided just to do what early morning Malachi thought was a good idea. I'm just going to roll with it because 1 a.m. in the morning Malachi sometimes has good ideas. With those off to the side, I'm going to start building my vision. I'm going to chuck a bunch of 78% dark chocolate into a double boiler. And once that's melted, this is going to be the base of our cake. So a super cocoa rich base. It's going to be a nice thin layer on the bottom. And then after that, we'll start messing with the chocolate a little bit more. This is just going to be base chocolate for the base of that. Once the chocolate's melted, we want to put a little bit in the bottom of each of our 4. Now, I don't want to put too much in. I'm going to do 3 to kind of where I want them. And then if I have enough, I'll do the 4th. Because I'd much rather get 3 that I'm happy with than 4 stingy ones. I'm just going to roll them around just a little bit just to make sure that it's nice and covered evenly across the bottom where I wanted it. That one's a little thin. Oh, there we go. That's fine. The awkward thing about trying a recipe that you've made up at 2 o'clock in the morning is you can't go, oh, am I doing this right? And then double check something. You can't. So I'm just going to keep going. We'll see what we do. We're going to put these in the fridge because I want them to set completely. They need to be super hard because I'm going to be putting hot chocolate on top of them. So I want these to be super hard so they don't just destroy when we put the next step on. The next step is where we're going to start messing with the chocolate a little bit by adding the vegetable oil to try and change the consistency a little bit. We're going to put a bunch of just normal milk cooking chocolate in to melt down. Once it gets melted, we're going to add some vegetable oil to it so that it doesn't set back into this solid state. If you've ever made molding chocolate, for example, you know kind of what we're going for. Now that's nice and melted, I'm going to add the oil. Now, I haven't made molding chocolate in a very long time. I have no idea about quantities, so I'm going to start with a teaspoon and see what consistency that gives me, and then maybe we'll add more from there if we need to. I don't think it shouldn't make the chocolate seize up, but I am always terrified of chocolate seizing, which is why in between every single one of these steps, I am thoroughly washing and then drying with the paper towel this bowl, because I do not want this bowl. It can't be a single drop of water in this bowl. I'm only making this dessert once, and I don't want to mess it up. Now, this is the bit that I'm really not sure about, but I don't want it to just be like a molding chocolate. I want it to be like a brownie. So I'm going to add some self-raising flour into it. Now, obviously, melting chocolate is not going to be the same temperature as what you would normally cook flour at. I'm not overly worried about the raw flour thing because the amount of flour we're using is very, very small, and the chances of catching anything from raw flour anyway are very, very small. But if you are worried about raw flour or undercooked flour, you can pre-roast your flour or pre-toast it. Just put your flour on a baking tray, put it into the oven on very high heat, and for a couple of minutes. So it won't fully cook your flour, but it will kind of, we'll kind of get rid of any potential baddies, I guess. So at the moment, we're going for a teaspoon of oil and a tablespoon of flour. I want to get this as smooth as possible. This is the rest of that tablespoon. I want to get this as smooth as possible, so I want to use a whisk. But there's something in my memory somewhere screaming not to use metal in melted chocolate, and I don't remember why. I don't remember if that's actually a thing or what my brain is going on about. So I'm going to try and do it with my spatula and combine it, but I really want to use a whisk or a fork just to get it exactly where I want it. Although that is looking pretty good. That's actually exactly the consistency that I was hoping for in my imagination at 2 o'clock this morning. This is kind of the deciding moment as to whether my whole idea for this dessert is going to work. So I'm going to put a decent sized blob of our melted chocolate mix into each of these containers. I'm going to try and keep it as even as possible, but I'm bad with even. Generally, I make things in two sizes, one for me, one for wifey, and they're not necessarily even. That's not looking too bad, actually. I think that it all comes down to how it sets now. Now that I've proven the hypothesis of my consistency, it all comes down to how this is going to set. Now, as expected, that is melting the base layer of chocolate, which is annoying, but to be expected, I guess. It's an ambitious recipe. I can't even call it a recipe, can I? It's an ambitious idea to begin with. So we're gonna have little mistakes and stuff along the way, I guess. And I want this to set as flat as possible. So I'm going to stop poking it, because I think poking it's probably not going to really help with the whole setting as flat as possible thing. But I will give all of them just a little shimmy sham, just to try and smooth them out as much as possible. As I said, I don't know how this is going to set. I don't know if my consistencies with the oil and the flour are going to be right. This could potentially be a chocolate pudding and not the praline brownie consistency that I wanted. They're also very uneven between the three of them. So I'm going to put this back in the fridge to set. I'm then going to do the exact same thing 5 more times. So we've got super dark chocolate on the bottom. Then we've got the milk chocolate we just made. We're then going to go dark chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate. All of those layers are going to be made exactly the same way, exactly the same recipe. The top one, the very top last white chocolate layer, I'm going to do something different with that again. So I'm going to keep doing this. The next thing you're going to see is that top layer. Welcome back. It's been about 2 hours. We have just done the last layer of the dark chocolate. And I'm very happy to say that all of them, they're not quite even, but all of them have just that little bit of a layer room left for the last layer, which means my mental mapping out earlier worked. Perfect amount so far. So the last layer is going to be the white chocolate again to finish it off. But I did say I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to put these back in the fridge so they can set up nice and cold. And I'm going to grab myself a frappan because I'm going to try and caramelize the top layer of white chocolate. So instead of cooking it in a double boiler like we have been, we're going to put it on a super low temperature, and we're going to slowly melt and caramelize the white chocolate. And then we'll mix in the flour and the oil. Oh yeah, that's another thing that I probably should have figured out a whole lot earlier than I did. Different chocolates have different oil contents, therefore require different amounts of oil. So the dark chocolate could do with a little bit more than the 1 teaspoon I was putting in, but white chocolate could do with a whole lot less than a teaspoon, because that middle layer of white chocolate was runny. So I marbled the middle layer with the next layer of milk chocolate, and that seems to have held it all together. So hopefully, or A, hopefully the thing comes out at all, but B, hopefully it doesn't come out and then that middle layer just bloop. So this is going to take a very long time. Slowly melt and then caramelize the chocolate. I know that in theory this will work, but then again, in theory is everything in this video. Because I know that you can put white chocolate on a low setting in the oven and bake it, and it turns into caramel chocolate or caramilk if you're a Cadbury aficionado. And that's kind of what we're going for. But I'm going to do it on the stovetop because I want to. And it felt like a good idea at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we've reached the melting point. Now we want to go past melting to when it actually starts to cook a little bit and darken up. You can see it's starting to caramelize a little bit, kind of around the edges. So I'm going to keep mixing it because I want it to sit and caramelize, but I don't want it to start to dry out too much in bits. Like, I don't want this to be crunchy. It needs to stay relatively smooth. I also have no idea if I should even be touching it at all, because obviously when you if you do the oven method, you don't touch it. You just put it in the oven, let it do its thing, and then eat it. Whereas I'm playing with this a lot, and I know I don't want to play with the chocolate too much. I'm also just realized that I'm scooping it into the middle. That's probably not going to help. It needs to be a very definitive caramel color. I don't want it to be, oh wait, is that caramel or is it sugar light? Is it just the yellow of the oven? You know, I don't want that. I want it to be clearly caramel. All right, now it's starting to really dry out. So I'm gonna let it dry a little more and cook. Then I'm gonna have to add in oil because as much as I want it to cook, I don't want it to dry out. I don't want crumbly, you know? No crumbly. I want it to be a nice, still needs to be creamy. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the oil in. Now I know I said earlier that the white chocolate doesn't require a lot of oil, and I stand by that, but I'm also drying it out. So by my reckoning, a little bit of oil as it dries out, replacing it with the oil is the right thing to do. Maybe we've reached a point now where I'm still not noticing any color difference, which is what I wanted, but the consistency has changed about 4 times and the smell is very caramel. I said smell as if it was going to be a bad smell. I'm sorry for misleading you. It's a very good smell and it smells exactly like what I want. And I'm so worried that I'm playing Russian roulette with my timing right now as to whether, like, if I let it go that little bit too long, will the whole thing just stuff up, you know? Or are we good? Are we golden? Could I go for another 20 minutes and actually get the result I want? I don't know. This is what happens. I didn't research anything. I wanted to go into this without researching anything because I wanted this to be my brainchild, if that makes any sense. Like, this is the recipe as I imagined it, using the ingredients I imagined and the methods I imagined to get, hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully get the dessert or get the result that I want out of this. And I don't know if it's going to do that, but I'm going to try my best. Now I'm going to start mixing in the flour. I don't know how I'm going to go mixing in the flour with my spatula, so I might use a whisk, and this could be where everything goes to shit. I'm going to use a fork actually, and I'm going to take it off the heat, which I should have done before I went to get my fork. Yep, that was close, Malachi. You almost ruined Christmas. I don't actually know whether the flour is doing what I wanted it to do in the recipe. I wanted it to act as, you know, make it more like a brownie, less like, I don't want a fudge or a praline. I want like just ever so slightly a brownie. It's definitely looking like this is going to be ever so slightly a brownie. Have I messed it up? This is by far the most ambitious video I've ever done, but it's also the most ambitious recipe I've ever tried. Like, I've done creme brulees and I've done souffles, and that didn't stress me out anywhere near as much as this. Mostly because I was following a recipe and kind of knew what I was doing, whereas in this, I'm just freeballing it here, which in a way is not therapeutic, that's the wrong word. In a way, this is, I mean, it's nice, you know, to freeball it. All right, I am going to get our both of these hot, they're both hot now. So I'm gonna have to do it back there. All right, well, I don't have time to waste, just get them out. So this is almost exactly what I wanted the top layer to be. A lot thicker than the other layers because I want it to act not only as like holding the whole thing together, but yeah, I wanted it to act as a bit of a top. I have no idea what I'm saying anymore. But also I want it to still be flat. All right, don't mess with it too long, Malachi. The chocolate's in the pan. Just go, go, go. Timing is everything. Last one. There might be some left over to put in that first one, because the first one kind of seemed a little empty, and I realize I am stage blocking the camera, and I'm sorry. I'll try and I don't know that. Can you see that? I don't know. I don't care at the moment. I'm sorry. I love you, but I don't care at the moment. God, all of them are just filled up almost perfectly. So glad I didn't try and do 4. If I tried to do 4, I would have been sorely disappointed. And I might still be sorely disappointed. I'm looking at this at the moment. Until right now, I was looking at this going, yeah, this could be a success. I think I've done good, but it all comes down to that reveal. And pretty much this last little scoop and on is the last thing I'm doing with this. That is so runny though. I don't know if that's gonna set at all, but there's nothing I can do about it now. In the fridge. So all that's left now is to wait for that to set and then do the big reveal. Hey there. So I am editing the cooking part of this video. I just shot the intro. I'm actually shooting this straight after doing the intro. I still haven't shot the reveal yet. I am procrastinating. I'm literally shooting everything else before I shoot the reveal. I am terrified. I have never been this scared of a dessert. I put this off as long as I can. I am absolutely terrified that it's not going to work. I've got all 3 of them here. I've got a knife. I've got my little board. I will declare this a victory if 3 things happen. Number 1, it comes out cleanly. Number 2, the layers are clean layers. I don't want too much mixing other than the marbled layer. And then texture and consistency will be the other one. So, step 1 is to get this out. Do I have to push it from the bottom? So close to getting out. Okay, it's out. That is not a neat layer at all. But, you know, it's a thing. It's a lot of chocolate. As I said, the white chocolate in the middle didn't set very well. I also need to be able to get it off of its bottom tray, which just comes off very cleanly. Okay, so step 1 was good. I got them all out. They all came out cleanly. This one's by far the prettiest of the bunch with the nicest layers. So this is the one that I'm going to try the cross section. Now, I don't want it to be just solid chocolate. That wasn't the point. I could have just melted chocolate together. The point of the oil and the flour was to make it like a bit of a brownie. I also want the layers to hold together. Like I want them to be separate, but I want them to grip together. I don't want a stack of chocolate pancakes, which I feel might be what I've got. If we have a look, it's crumbly. A little bit crumbly, but they are still reasonably fresh out of the fridge. If you look at that, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's pretty good. Considering I didn't know what I was doing, that's very definitive layers. Overall final verdict, the layers were pretty clean. I mean, the marbled layer in the middle there, we always knew was going to be messy. But other than that, the layers are pretty clean. It held together quite well. Like the layers are separate but joined together. It tastes like chocolate, so you know, what is there to complain about there? As far as the texture is concerned, it's not quite the texture I wanted. Maybe I could have added more oil and more flour to make it slightly cakier. It does just feel like chocolate, slightly softer than normal chocolate, albeit, but chocolate, I don't really know what I was expecting. But I think for a recipe and a method and an idea that I came up with at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm very glad that I decided to do it. I'm glad that I stuck to the guns and did it exactly how I planned it in my head. And now I get to eat it. So really, I'm the winner here. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please do remember to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. But for right now, as always, Frost Squad, have a good day, have a good life, and I'll catch you all down the road.